That's where we're heading. Luke 16. Luke 16. Yeah, there's a very interesting passage here. Only going to focus on one tiny spot of it. From verse 1, it says, "And they said unto his disciples, There was a certain rich man which had a steward. The same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods. And he called on him and said, How is it that I hear this of thee? Give an account of thy stewardship, for thou mayest be no longer steward. Then the steward said within himself, What shall I do? For my Lord taketh away from me the stewardship. I cannot dig to beg. I am ashamed." You remember missionary preached a sermon on that when he was here? Brother Campbell. Remember Brother Campbell? To Scotland, wasn't it? Wasn't he going to Scotland? I think didn't he become a pastor? What's that, Sadie? That was a while. Yeah. This is one of those texts that don't hear. He preached a sermon on cannot dig. To beg, I am ashamed. And then he goes on and tells us how he worked. He could dig. And I'm like, you hypocrite! Preaching a verse on how you can't, and then you were saying how you did down in Pensacola. But I cannot dig. To beg, I am ashamed. I am resolved what to do, that when I am put out of the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses. So he called every one of his Lord's debtors unto him, and said unto the first, How much owest thou unto my Lord? And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said unto him, Take thy bill, and sit down quickly, and write 50. And said he to another, and said, How much? And said he to another, How much owest thou? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto him, Take thy bill, and write 80. And the Lord commended the unjust steward, because he had done wisely. For the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of light. And I say unto you, make to yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when ye fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitations. Now, there's something going on with these couple phrases and passages right here. We're not going to dig into anything like that. I'll let you figure it out and tell me. We're going to keep going. But that's some interesting reading right there. And those are some interesting verses. This whole passage is very interesting to figure out what the Lord's trying to teach. Well, we know what he's trying to teach, which is the end of this thing. Verse 10. And this is where we're going to key on here, is that he that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much. If therefore ye have been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? That's an interesting phrase right there too. Is there such a thing as a false rich? Being rich, false? I mean, rich is rich, right? I'm at work today listening to the music that they play, and thankfully it's clean music most of the time. But don't raise your hands. Anyone here listen to country music? Don't raise your hands, please. There's some nasty songs on that in that genre. And there was one today that a guy was saying, I don't know the music. I just, whatever I pick up at work is what I pick up, and that's it. And that's how it's been my whole life, really. But there's a song on there about, I wish I had a rich uncle so he could pass away and leave me money. I'm using this as a chance to kind of pick at some of the people around me. Like, are you listening to this? And then walk up to a guy who just lost his mother-in-law just passed away. Are you listening to this? Is this a good song? Is this stuff we should be listening to? Just kind of, picking at it a little bit. Because I guarantee you they don't listen to the words that they're listening to. I guarantee you that. The true riches. I mean, the point of that song, the guy said in the song, I know money can't buy you happiness, but it'll let me buy a boat, a tractor. That's fantastic. You catching it? True riches. And if you have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? So there's a couple interesting thoughts here, and I don't really have a lot to say about it. As I read it, I realize that this should demand actually a deeper study, a deeper look at this. But faithfulness, and verse 10 is that first phrase right there. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And that's just the fact of life. If you're not faithful in little things, like I know what's natural for. I've seen it a lot. I've seen it with my own life, and I've seen it with others. And what's natural is that people want to get on board with the big things, and we want to have when there's a big production, a big play, a big a show. When we have big events, it's like people want to get on board with the big things so that they can, at the end of the day, say, I took part of this big event when we had 100 people here or 200 people here, or we had our church, we've given millions of dollars to support orphans in Africa. Our church, and they're making themselves part of the big production and the big play. And I understand that. I've faced that same thing. I've experienced that same thing, and I know that for a lot of us, it's like that's what we want. We want to be a big part of that. And if a church, if something, not a church per se, but if something's growing, guess what? People want to be involved with. Do people want to be involved with something that's growing and that's exciting, or do they want to be involved with something that's not growing? Right. So if success, I think there's a phrase in the world that says success breeds what? Success, right? Success breeds success. And so people mostly, if you looked at a big group, then you're going to find out that, there's a lot of, there's like different classes or groups within this large group. Let's just say a church, because that's where we're at. There's different classes within the church, and there's the bulk of the people are just the people that come. And they just want to be a part of it because they feel good about being part of something that's big. But that's not the focus of a lot of the scriptures. A lot of the scriptures is, especially as you get into the New Testament, a lot of the scriptures of the New Testament is you need to be faithful with the little that you have, and you are little, and you need to be faithful with that which is little, and that which is faithful in that which is least. And as I come around and I think about salvation, it's like what is salvation? It's God who's big. In me, who's kind of the least of the least and the smallest of nothing, right? And God said something about that with the nations. He says, I will make all the nations of the world, there's a drop of a bucket. They're less than nothing. That's what God called the worldly nations of. Like, we're concerned about Iran and Iraq and nuclear bombs. How much is God concerned about that? Drop in a bucket, less than nothing. He that is faithful in that which is least. Why is there a focus on least? And I think a small part of that is just because that's who we are in comparison with God. Is we are least. We are little. When God and Jesus Christ makes an emphasis on what part of life in his parables and his teachings, does he make an emphasis on ruling and leading? I mean, man, I go into work, man, and I get offered all these leadership classes, leadership. And you go online and you can go on YouTube and you can go find people talk all about leadership classes. And you're going to go find out how to be a leader. You know, be a leader and be the head dog, how to conquer and how to win and how to blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, hey, what is Jesus Christ's main focus? He starts with servanthood. Ministry, and we've gone over that a lot. Ministry. That's the foundation, is ministry. Jesus' first step approach is you are little. You come up to salvation, how does a man get saved? Does a man get saved because he got a big head? And he realizes how important he is? Negative. Salvation is approached by realizing how little you are in comparison with God. The least. He that is faithful in that which is least. Is the word. So I look at my watch and I realize tomorrow is this thing called June 19th. Right? This world has this thing about June 19th. Right? And there's different things, I guess, but I'm thinking of one thing in particular. I just wonder. I wonder if, have you ever taken a look at the Bible, and have you ever looked up this word pride? And have you ever wondered what God thinks about pride? I mean, I dare you. Pull out a concordance, pull out your phone. I dare you look up pride. I dare you to see what God says about it. And I haven't looked up the stats recently because this has been a while that I've looked at this. But as far as I recall, I don't think there is a singular usage of that word in the Bible that's positive. Right? And even so much so that, like, sometimes my kids will do something, and there's this phrase that we say, "I'm proud of you," right? And it's good. That's a good. You're showing, you're expressing happiness, love at your child. That's a great thing. And every time I want to say something like that, my tongue just stumbles over that word because it's like proud. I probably have said it once or twice. But is pride a good thing? What is pride doing? Pride is exalting yourself. It's the opposite of what Jesus Christ is teaching. It's the opposite of who Jesus Christ was. He came down to earth in a show of humility because he is the I am. And leading the way, showing us an example, as he became that which was least. He became man. I always think of that middle letter in pride. Shows you what it's all about. It shows you what pride's all about. And then you want to look over at Job, and you want to see that there's a king over all the children of pride. And it's the devil. And you want to look over in Proverbs chapter 16, where it says, "Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." And you want to go over to Ezekiel, I think it's 16, where it talks about certain cities and how their hearts were lifted up in pride. Jesus Christ focuses in on this right here. He that is faithful in that which is least. Why does he think about this? Because it's important to be little. It's important to remind yourself of the least things. Now, we look over here in Zechariah. Let's turn over here to Zechariah chapter 4. Zechariah chapter 4. This is a great little phrase to underline in your Bible. Zechariah chapter 4, verse 10. Where Zechariah, God says this, "For who hath despised the day of small things?" And we'll just stick it at that. For who hath despised the day of small things? What is the Christian life? Is it exciting? It can be. There's certain things that can be exciting. The more spiritually minded you are, the more exciting things are. The more worldly, carnally minded, the less they're exciting. But how do you become a good Christian? What is a good Christian? Well, I'll tell you what a good Christian is. A good Christian is a person who daily spends time reading the Word of God. A good Christian is somebody who is constant in prayer and who prays without ceasing, who's always got a heart and an attitude of prayer, and who spends time doing prayer. A good Christian is somebody who seeks out fellowship with the church, with other Christians. A good Christian is somebody who has a burden for winning souls to the Lord and has a burden for the lost people around them as they reject Jesus Christ and live their life in no hope. Is anything that I said to you right there, is that anything new? Have you not heard that a million times in your Christian life? Is that not like the heart of every single sermon that's ever preached and from every pulpit? From here to Florida and from Maine to Hawaii. Maybe not Hawaii, that place is just cursed. Ready for a volcano to erupt on it. I jest. I know that you love Hawaii. I jest. Alaska, Yosemite. Alaska's cursed too. California. Okay, I just got to move on. Have you not, like, every Sunday, is there not preaching on prayer, on Bible reading, on church attendance, on soul winning? I mean, come on, that's what we preach about all the time. Because that's the heart of Christianity. But what's exciting about getting up every day and putting your nose in the Bible? There's nothing exciting about this. This is something that's least. What's exciting about spending your time on your knees in prayer, or praying as you're walking around the house, or praying as you're laying down? What's exciting about that? There's nothing exciting about that. There's no whistles involved. There's no flashing lights involved. There's no explosions. There's no gun chases. There's no fist fights. There's nothing exciting about spending your time in prayer. What is it? It's that which is least. Right? What's exciting about coming to church? I mean, with all three of those things, there is excitement involved with it. But what's exciting about coming to church? Exciting is going down fishing, right? Exciting is going down and playing a ball game. Exciting is going out shooting, right? Exciting is catching the game on TV. There's excitement to be had, and it's not going to church. What is that? Bible reading, it's that which is least. Prayer, it's that which is least. The church attendance, it's that which is least. Soul winning, no one likes to go soul winning. Every single conflict, every person that you go up to is a risk of them shooting you down and saying something negative to you and degrading you and belittling you and making fun of you and saying keep it to yourself and it's just conflict. That's what soul winning is. It's not exciting, it's something that which is least. And yet, if we were to ever preach a new path, then we would be on a false path. If we were to ever preach something different, saying, hey, we need to change our whole structure around here, and we need to be seeker friendly, and we need to be more about getting a concert going on so we can advertise and so we can have a flashy substance up here so that we don't have to preach truth. We'll just preach the basic love of Christ, and then we can draw, because it's all about getting a big crowd in here. That's what it's all about. And if that ever became the focus of our church, anathema. We've walked totally away from the truth that has worked for 2,000 years. This church started with men that were least. Fishermen, those were least. The best king in the world, that was David. And who did he start with? He started with somebody that was least. He started as a shepherd boy, with that which is least. And it's like, why are we excited about the day of small things and that which is least? It's because that's where the power is. That's where growth is. That's where your success comes. Success comes when you know that the right things are these little basic, dull, boring things, and then you do them. That's success. And when you do that and you set aside the distractions and you set aside the callings and you set aside the false light and you stick your nose in and you follow the Lord, that's where you're going to go to bed at nighttime and you're going to say, I did it right today. I had success and satisfied. Richest, most entertained people in the history of mankind are the least satisfied people that have ever lived. The people that can at any moment of time entertain themselves with anything they want to have the highest suicide rates that have ever been in the history of the world. Because we've walked away from the small things. You know who's guilty of that? This guy right here. Guilty. Who hath despised the day of small things. Turn back to Luke chapter 16. Luke chapter 16. That's the whole sermon right there. Let's just look at these three things. And I don't really have any commentary to add to them, but there's 3 points right here. Verse 10, verse 11, verse 12. He that is faithful. Okay, so we're talking about faithfulness. Faithfulness is not flashy. Okay, faithfulness is something that's least. You don't get a big name typically, normally, for being faithful. It just gets done. You drive by a house with a nice yard, you don't really see anything special about it. You drive by a house with a clean living room and a clean kitchen. It's like there's no comment made about it. You walk in here in the church, and it's vacuumed and cleaned every week, and the bathrooms are cleaned every week. Who's ever came in and said, "Oh man, this looks nice. I'm glad somebody came in here and vacuumed and cleaned"? That normally isn't said. You know what's normally said is when there's tracks of mud prints everywhere. Then that's when we make the comments, right? No one makes comments about the cleanliness, but the cleanliness is like super important, but that's least. He that is faithful and that which is least is faithful also in much. The world has this phrase saying, if you want something done, give what you need done to a busy man. If you want something done, give it to a busy man. That's what they say. If somebody's busy and they don't got extra time on their hands, well, good. If you want something done, give it to that man right there. Because he's already proved that he's going to do it. He's busy. He's going to be active in doing it. If you're faithful in that which is least, that's where you learn. That's where you earn the much. And it's contradictory. You want to be a part of the big stuff. Okay, you're part of the big stuff by being a part of the little stuff. Right? You grow the big stuff. We want our church to grow. Okay, let's make our church grow. We're going to have our church grow by being faithful to the little stuff. Being faithful to a Thursday night service when we have, 10, 15, 20, sometimes 30 people here. We're going to be faithful and little. And I enjoy it. I'm happy. I'm glad we're here. And we're going to come to the Lord, and we're going to make ourselves be happy. Happiness is a choice. Did you know that? Happiness is a choice. Love is a choice. Okay? You can't control others. You can control your heart with the Lord. It's a choice to be happy. We're going to be happy with that which is least. Little Bible Baptist Church. Man, no one likes Bible Baptist Church. It's that which is least, right? He that's faithful in that which is least shall be faithful in that which is most. Verse 11 says this, if therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon. That's interesting. If you have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon. I think immediately of my work when I think of that. Unrighteous mammon. I mean, unrighteous mammon, you work for them, don't you? Yeah. Unrighteous mammon. If you're not faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? So the trust is, I learned this as a young age. Thankfully, I grew up in a good church where the pastor was preaching, like, if you're going to get a job, and we got these 4 teenagers, young adults, that are going to be going getting work because they're going to have access to their own vehicle, be able to drive. Well, as Christians, your challenge is to become the best worker that's there, most faithful, most honest. Make it so that your management knows this person is trustworthy. And I remember working at McDonald's when I was 16 years old, and I remember just being surprised. I didn't grow up in a culture where somebody would just walk by back in the kitchen, and you're cooking, and somebody would just walk by and put their hands down there in the pickles and pop some in their mouth while they're working. I'm like, for some reason, I thought that I was stealing. For some reason, I thought that was McDonald's property, not mine, and they sell those for money, and I don't know, I guess I was wrong. But thankfully, I had a pastor tell me that, hey, be the Christian. Be the one that sticks out because you're serving the Lord God. Be the best one. And somehow, over 2 years of working there, when I worked in this company, I had no idea thievery was going around, but the management turned things to, like, put stuff under lock and key, and they're like, hey, we're not the freezer back there, we're not going to let people back in. Only management's allowed back in the freezer because we're stealing stuff. Only management's back allowed, and Casey, he's allowed back there. And I'm like, I had no idea. Just faithful in that which is little. If you're not faithful in the unrighteous mammon, then who will commit to your trust the true riches? Okay, think about it like this. If you're not faithful in your job when you're working around people, and they know, hey, they know you go to this church, you can't hide that. They know that you're a Christian, you can't hide that. And if you're not faithful in there by making sure that your reputation is without tarnish, then you are going to miss opportunities to lead somebody to the Lord, and you're going to ruin the reputation of the other people that are around you here. And you're going to ruin, if say one of us is given a chance to witness to somebody that's in your lifestyle, and they're like, oh, that person, they goes to that church. Well, he's crooked, and that church must be crooked. You're going to ruin, that's the true riches. And if you don't have a good reputation in the unrighteous mammon, to know that, yeah, that person's honest. That person will give his best, even when no one's looking at him. That person you can trust. He's trying to be fair. That person's a good... If you don't have that reputation, then when you go, if the Lord ever gives you opportunity to witness to somebody or someone else does, then you're going to ruin the opportunity at a true riches. Verse 12, if ye have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? I can only think of the kids that grow up. How much do you own, Jackson? John, how much does Jackson own? About nothing. I don't think they're his. I think I've had that conversation with my kids a couple times. Like, you think that's your room you're sleeping in and your bed you're sleeping in? Nope. Nope. You think that's your food you're eating? Nope. Kids grow up. What is it? If you've not been faithful in that which is another man. So, I mean, the kids learn that. You tell me, if a kid doesn't learn responsibility at home from mommy and daddy, how is he going to do when he goes into a work job? Is that guy going to have a good work character or not? From what I know, no. The best workers are ones that had a good, stable home life, where their parents encourage them to be honest and to be busy and to work with the tasks that are given at home. And then those people are the ones that become fruitful and become good, possibly business owners or business workers, and they're able to use money properly as they grow up, and they have a good understanding of what riches is and how to take care of themselves and prepare themselves for getting married down the road. And when they're 16 and 18 and 20 years old, they're not ruining their freedom, their newfound freedom. They're not throwing it away at a whim. They're preparing themselves for the next steps of their chapter of their life. If you have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? How do you get your own riches? You get your own riches by being faithful with your parents' things as you're growing up. And then you become faithful by becoming, you get your own things by becoming faithful with the company that hires you to work for them as you grow up. I don't have a conclusion. That's my conclusion. 3 little verses here. I don't even have them alliterated. This is a horrible sermon. I'm going to ask you on Sunday school what kind of preaching this was, and I'm going to tell you I don't have a clue, because this. But 3 little things of faithfulness.